Hello, property nomads. Hope you're well. So now Barclays, big bank here in the UK. Now they are the latest to be accused of shutting accounts of customers for political and religious reasons. We've touched upon this YouTube channel before and also on the podcast that with Nigel Farage being debanked, apparently he's been offered to have his accounts reinstated. The dangerous precedent was set that if you have differing political beliefs, even now religious beliefs, if your thoughts differ from the government or from what the woke banks here in the UK really want, then you could be debanked. And if you try and do anything, pretty much anything about a bank account, it is very, very difficult to do so nowadays. We're on Zero Hedge, and the headline is banks that take the lead in establishing personal social credit system, critics charge. We're on a slippery slope. I'll be very, very clear about that. That the fact that various banks now here in the UK are supposedly debanking people for having differing views, it is not a good place to be. It's not a healthy place to be at all. And this is all leading towards the same thing. It's all leading towards personal social credit systems and scores and central bank digital currencies. It's all about control. It's all about this idea that you will own nothing and be happy. You can call me a tinfoil hat however you want. The more these articles come out, the more truth there is going to be. You know, a lot of people are losing faith in mainstream media. Why? Because they're being very selective with what they're reporting. It's just lies upon lies upon lies upon lies upon lies. And we're basically being fed this a ridiculous amount of BS. And this is why we fight back on Property Nomads. We're putting our stance on things. We're telling you what we believe is the truth, because we know that, you know, even if it's not necessarily invested in property or real estate, if you listen to this from abroad, even if you don't go down that route, there are many ways that you can protect yourself against all this crazy crap that's coming. Because, well, it's not even coming. It's already here. It's just not being reported about properly. Why? Because everyone's part of this woke leftist crazy ass agenda, which it's just not healthy at all. So this is the main purpose of this article. Barclays become the latest to be accused of shutting the accounts of customers for political and religious reasons. And it's not just British banks that are doing this, apparently. Many say that America's largest banks are door-to-door with UK banks in establishing political and social criteria for their customers and punishing those who don't comply. So this might sound laughable, but when this net zero agenda really gets flying, and you know, we done an article a little while ago about why they don't want you to eat as much red meat because it's bad for the environment. Well, if you start banking, you start going out to a steakhouse and they can see that on your bank account. No more bank account for you, naughty boy. Shouldn't be eating steaks. Not good for you. Denied. No more cash for you. And it might sound laughable, but it is here. This sort of stuff is happening. There's not just NatWest and Barclays. There are other banks apparently out there that are doing this as well. According to Justin Haskins, director at the Heartland Institute, who told Epoch Times, and I quote, "There is a mountain of evidence that shows many of America's largest and most powerful banks are discriminating against customers because of their ideological, social, cultural, religious, or political views. Through various environmental, social, and governments, the wonderful ESG, policies and frameworks, banks regularly choose to screen out customers who are deemed reputational risks or considered part of industries disfavored by elites and their powerful institutions," Mr. Haskins said. Yeah, so basically we're being discriminated against. Banks are discriminating, and we've got to look at why is this all happening. It's this whole ESG movement. It's this you'll own nothing and be happy. You know, Davos, World Economic Forum stuff. This massive Malthusian cult that's going on. They believe in reducing the population. How can you do that? How can you save the environment? Well, we could all just eat a little bit less meat. We don't need to own cars. Don't worry about it. Electric vehicles are the way forward. All this net zero stuff, it's the way forward. You're getting lied to in the background because again, how much mining does it take to make an electric vehicle? Can you recycle the batteries? All of these big lies. We've had massive lies from big pharma in the last 3 or 4 years, and again, that stuff is certainly starting to come through now, not by the mainstream media, of course. Oh, no, because they're all part of this woke agenda. Go woke, go broke. Trust me, it exists. It really does. Apparently, there are laws. In addition, laws are currently in works to ban UK banks from discriminating against customers on a political or religious basis. Now, the UK Treasury Minister, Baroness Penn, stated last week, I quote, "I think the point that we can all agree on is that the right to lawful freedom of speech is fundamental, and where that has seemed to be brought into question through the provision of services, we have cause to worry," end quote. Here is the big thing at the moment, is that ironically what appears to be happening is the thing about free speech is it isn't free at the moment. So yes, there are things that you can argue less favorable than other things. I should defend my right to say that, I don't know, for example, that climate change is nonsense. That's what I believe in. I mean, it's probably true as well. That's what I believe in. But apparently that can be deemed as sort of a hate speech at the moment. Why? Because it's going against this whole leftist agenda. It's going against this whole woke agenda, this ESG, this everything I've just said in the last few minutes. Now, all this climate change nonsense and stuff, well, that's probably doing more environmental damage to a lot of people, because there's going to be more people dying through, maybe not even being able to heat their homes in the coming winter. I don't know. But I say climate change is nonsense. That might be deemed as hate speech. People pushing through this woke agenda, that's apparently not hate speech, because it's the way that the mainstream media have spun it. All of that being said, that's probably a different episode. We're getting off topic here. My apologies. The thing being that people are finding now that banks are closing their accounts, or people are being debanked because of what they believe in, political agenda, religious agendas, all these form of agendas. And that is very dangerous. It shouldn't be happening. Unfortunately, I think it's going to continue to happen. And we have to be very wary of this. If you're debanked, what happens? I mean, you could probably be in a whole world of pain, because it's quite difficult, especially in the UK and probably other Western countries. It's very challenging to try to do stuff without having a bank account. And the fact that this is going on in the background is shameful, and it's just part of what's coming on next, and that is social credit systems, social scores, all this banking nonsense as well. Things that we've been speaking about for a little while on the podcast and on YouTube, and what other people have been speaking about as well, because this is happening and people need to wake up and realize this is happening. We've got to protect ourselves. We've got to stand up for what we believe in. This is why we do these episodes. This is why we do these videos. And this is why we need your help spreading as much information as possible, spreading Property Nomads to as many people as you can, because we've got to fight for what ultimately we believe in. So debanking is here. It's scary. Let's take the fight and let's stop it from happening. I'll see you in the next video.